Canelo Alvarez versus Dmtri Bivol at the T-Mobile Arena for the WBA light heavyweight title. This fight is being billed as legacy is earned, and to me, this is what Canelo Alvarez is doing right now. People, for some reason, have this thing with Canelo. They say that he has a padded record. I don't know why people say that. They think that he's not real. Canelo Alvarez is literally fighting some of the toughest fights there is at the moment. I know he looked like he was going to fight Lunga Makabu, but that didn't happen. Cruiserweight, because of Makabu forced into a mandatory defense of his belt. And I think, to me, this fight is such an intriguing fight to me, because Bivol is not your typical sort of washed up fighter that, all due respect, you see a lot at light heavyweight. There aren't really many fighters who really... there are some good up-and-coming ones, and I think guys who are kind of making that leap, especially in Britain. You know, look at Joshua Buatsi, Anthony Yard, Lyndon Arthur. Craig Richards isn't young per se, but he's definitely someone to keep an eye on. There's a lot of fighters in there, and I think who are really up-and-coming. And I think this is but to me, Bivol at the moment is the best out of all of them, in my opinion. I think he is very young. I think he's 31, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 31. From Russia. And a lot of Russian, Ukrainian sort of fighters, maybe there's a few that are out sort of anomalies like Lomachenko and Usyk, but a lot of them have that sort of standard come forward, hands up, basic combination ones. But Bivol's different. Bivol moves in a way which you don't really see for guys like that. And undefeated, 19 fights, 11 KOs. He obviously, his last fight, beat Umar Salmanov via unanimous decision. Isn't really a big banger for that division, but he's very, very good technically and a very good combination puncher. And he moves quite fast for someone who is at light heavyweight. Very young as well. He's in the prime of his career, so he's 31, and I want to say Canelo's about 31 as well. I could be wrong about this. He might even be younger, to be honest, because Canelo is somebody who's... But yeah, he's 31 as well, Canelo. So it doesn't surprise you, Canelo's obviously gone through a very interesting set of fights. If we go from the Gennady Golovkin 2 fight, beat him, and then after he beats Gennady Golovkin, then went up and fought Rocky Fielding, fought Danny Jacobs, fought Kovalev, Callum Smith, Yildirim, Billy Joe Saunders, and Caleb Plant. All, bar maybe the Yildirim fight, all of them fights are very, very tough. And to me, a lot of people talk about Canelo. Why, I don't know, about ducking Charlo and all these other guys. Canelo is the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world. He will fight anybody, any place, anywhere. And I respect him for it. And that's why I think he's one of my favourite, probably my second favourite fighter. As I said before, my favourite fighter in boxing today is Errol Spence. But after that, it's probably Canelo, because Canelo is brilliant to watch. From people talk about the drugs, but from a technical standpoint, he is just so brilliant. And he's in these tough fights. And this is, I think it might be his toughest fight to date. Maybe it's toughest, actually. Maybe the first Gennady Golovkin, the fights with Triple G were the toughest of his career, I would say. But I would say definitely, this is definitely up there, though. And you're looking at this fight, so what we'll do is we'll look at, first of all, we'll look at Dmtri Bivol and what he can do to kind of keep Canelo at bay, if he is, because Canelo does have that way of, he kind of fights a little bit like a matador at times, and I think, well, not like a matador, like a bull, and I think Bivol almost has to be like that matador, in my opinion. He has to be very patient. With Canelo, he's an incredible fighter, as we've already said, but what he does, there are moments in fights, like the Caleb Plant fight, for example. I forget, I have to go back now, but I forget what I scored the fight up until the point where Canelo stopped him. But one thing I did think about Canelo is he sometimes has a tendency of almost losing the fight up until a point where he gets a stoppage. And it's not lucky, he does set it up, but it's one of those where you can never really be sure with him if he's always in control. So I think that that jab for Bivol is going to be good. If you can do what you have to do, keep the smaller guy at range. To me, the jab is going to be good. Keep him at your range, but also one thing I want to see, if I was Bivol and Bivol's corner, outwork him. Keep the combinations coming in. Don't just land 1-2 shots and admire your work. Keep working Canelo. Canelo struggled against Floyd for that reason. Caleb Plant did a very similar thing. Canelo's excellent, but he has that sort of high guard. And again, I don't know if Bivol will be able to outbox Canelo per se, but I think one thing he will be able to do is definitely outwork him, because Canelo isn't really... He has moments where he'll do good, but he looks for a lot of power punches. He doesn't really always go for that one... he doesn't try... He's a brilliant combination puncher, but he is someone who doesn't... He's not like an Errol Spence will work round after round after round. He will take his time, pick his shots, and eventually, as the rounds go on, he kind of picks up the activity, and I think that's what you see in a lot of his fights. And with Canelo in this fight, it's interesting because, like I said, he's not fighting an old Kovalev. He's fighting a young guy, and I don't know. I wonder, how does he cope with someone this big who's got the size on him? Canelo himself, if I look at the reach match, has a 70 reach advantage, or 70.5. Bivol has a 72. So it makes me kind of wonder. There's not a lot in it, but it's enough which I think would make Canelo worry a little bit. So yeah, I think, like I said, keep him at your range, keep him at jabbing distance, and make sure you're working, land those combinations. With Canelo, I feel like he's always got the judges on his side anyway. So I think if you can really put it to a point where it's almost impossible at a point to score the rounds from him, because if you can get Canelo to almost come looking for you, especially when you're going up in weight, I think it would definitely be beneficial. Canelo's a great boxer and he's so slick, and against Callum Smith, he kind of brutalised him in a way, and so I think Canelo's becoming a bit more of a aggressive fighter now later in his career. Say later, he's 31, but later on now. And yeah, so I think if you can force Canelo to almost fight off the back foot a lot, would help him a lot. And one thing I also would do if I was, and it's kind of hard with Canelo because how he keeps his guard, but he has a very high guard, and one thing Bivol doesn't really do that much, and I think he really needs to pick up in this fight, is the body punching. If you can work that body, Canelo, try and slow him down, the smaller guy, it just would be beneficial for you, really would. And I think with the way that Canelo fights, comes forward a lot with the high guard, the body shots are there, you just got to pick the right shot. And I think, because Canelo's powerful, people sometimes are a bit, I don't know, discouraged, I guess, sometimes to almost going against, so almost to let the shots go with him. But I think there's certain fights who look at that Floyd fight and look at how Floyd did against him, how he kind of moved around him, and a little bit similar to what Shakur Stevenson did to Oscar Valdez. So I think with Bivol, I don't think he should be discouraged. I think if you can get on the inside, not on the inside for the whole fight, because that does suit Canelo, but at moments just sort of pop the body shots off. You're the bigger guy, you're the stronger guy out of the two, you're naturally going to be bigger than him, so I think it would make a hell of a lot more sense if you can work that body, slow him down. Smaller guys going up in weight as well. I think there's a lot of things that benefit you when you go up in weight, but certain things that don't really suit you is if you get tired in there, it's really hard, especially with the extra weight. So I think, to me, like I said, keep the fight at your distance, pop the jab out, land combinations, outwork Canelo, and just go to the body. I think it would be very, very beneficial, because I don't think you want to really have a boxing match with Canelo, especially with how slick his movement is. He's got his lateral movement, it's ridiculous. So I think, yeah, that would be it for people. When it comes to Saud Canelo Alvarez, being the smaller guy in a fight like this is, I mean, Canelo's quite small anyway. He's not actually that big, which has surprised me with him a little bit. He's knocking a lot of his guys out that big, but he really, if you look at him, he's very small, Canelo, and I do think, how far can you go with these weight classes? He's talking about fighting Alexander Usyk and maybe cruiserweight slash heavyweight, we don't know what weight. I just wonder, like, I don't know, how long can you go with that? It's just, I do wonder, especially with a guy who is as small as him, but I do wonder with Canelo, how far can he take it? Because if he beats Bivol, if he can do it convincingly, he's up there. So, I mean, he's already an all-time great, in my opinion. I think when he retires, he will go down as the greatest Mexican fighter of all time. Maybe the greatest of all time, who knows? But I just think, Canelo's ridiculous with his going up a weight. But I'm grateful for it because we are getting some great fights. And for what Canelo needs to do, to me, I think when you fight the big guy, I think one thing you will do if you're Canelo, and I think it's important, is to start off on him, get on him very, very early, make him work, push him against the ropes. Bivol, he's good off the back foot, to his credit, but I think if you can almost lock him into a state of just constantly going backwards and pushing up against the ropes, jabbing to the body, because I think, Bivol, his guard is not particularly slick defensively. Like heavyweight, you can only be so slick. So I do think that, a lot of guys who build fights as well, they kind of fire from a very long way out. They punch them really out of range. And Canelo sometimes does this when he's loading up, but he pretty much always kind of waits and is more patient. But I think the speed advantage is going to be big for Canelo. And I think landing these combinations, pushed him back against the ropes, is going to be vital. And I think also with Canelo, he does this a lot anyway, and it's the same thing I was saying with Bivol, but to me, against the bigger man, you want to slow him down. Same thing as Bivol, body. It's the only way you do it. Well, not the only way, there's a few ways, but to me, Canelo's left hook to the body is my favourite punch in boxing. The way he fakes to go up, like going to get you with the left hook and then goes to the body with it, is ingenious. And I think doing that would be, like I said, it makes sense for Canelo. I think he's got the speed advantage over Bivol. I think use it. If you can jump on him early, make him think, push him against the back, against the ropes, get him on the back foot, he will struggle. His footwork's pretty good, Bivol, but it's not something that I would say is that. But Bivol also has a bit of a higher guard like Canelo, but he hasn't got the snap to sort of get his hand, I think, back down to his body in time. So I think getting the left hook to the body, I think, will be big in this fight. I'm specifically citing that as the one. That left hook to the body, I think, will be there for Canelo. Again, if you can kind of do what he does so well and sort of fake the left hook up and go to the body, I think it would work so much for him. And to be honest, the way Bivol fights, he's quick for light heavyweight, but he is still quite stiff, to be honest. And I think if you can kind of use your speed in there, it's going to be important. And I think jumping on him early is going to be very, very vital for Canelo, because I think when you're up against a bigger man, I think at a certain point, if he's down, he's going to try and come after you. And I think if you can just sort of get that advantage over him and really try and outwork him, because skill for skill, like, Canelo is the better fighter, but it's just the size difference, which I think is an issue. And so that'd be the first thing. Second thing, what I think Canelo should do, and I think this is going to be something that may sound a bit counterintuitive, because I kind of said to Canelo to get him on the back foot and off the back foot and sort of go to the body. But to me, he needs to go back a little bit to the Danny Jacobs fight and just outbox him. Don't try and brutalise him, because I feel like he almost tried to do that with the Kovalev fight. And I know Kovalev ended up knocking Kovalev out, but to me, he was losing that fight, Canelo, up until that point. So I think outbox him, use what you got, use your speed, use your hand speed. Don't, try and be all destructive in there with him and be like a Mexican Mike Tyson. Just you can fight different ways, Canelo, it's one of his strengths, but to me, just outbox him, use your speed, stay elusive, and to me, it's his best chance against a bigger guy like that. So you are going to go and brutalise him and knock him out like you have done to everybody else. You kind of saw us when he fought Golovkin. He tried to almost do a rope-a-dope against Golovkin in the first fight and then go with that big shot, and it didn't work. You've got to realise that. Guys are bigger than you, and they're going to take shots better because they're, more size, more master them, and he often bullies guys. Canelo in there, but I don't know if he won't be able to do that to Bivol. I don't think so. Yeah. So yeah, to me, like I said, stay slick and be the boxer in this fight. Don't be the fighter. And I think, like I said, I think it just makes more sense. I don't think fighting with him I don't think it really doesn't make any sense. I don't see what the benefit is. He could knock him out, but again, it's a gamble. And Dmtri Bivol's, like I said, I think the best light heavyweight in the world. So that's why I don't think you should be taking them risks. But yeah, that would be the second thing. And I think the last thing for Canelo and what I feel he should do. Canelo is, like I said, his lateral movement's ridiculous. And one thing you could say about him, he is a little bit flat-footed. So what I would say for Canelo, and I think this is kind of asking him to do something that he's never done before. But I think with the way Bivol peppers that jab out of people and the way he lands combinations, he has a lateral movement to do this, Canelo. But if I was him, I would not at any point sort of just sit on your punches. I think keeping moving around the ring, outboxing him, making him miss, making him pay. He does it so well, Canelo, and he sometimes has moments where, like I said, when he's outworked. Canelo has moments where he's almost losing the fight, but he kind of will come out with something. A little bit like, I said this on my UFC review not long ago, that with some guys, they have a pattern of doing something. And if you, like with Lomachenko, I talked about relating to boxing, Lomachenko almost fell into a pattern of just starting off slow and eventually picking up. Against Tiafimo, it didn't work. And sometimes Canelo does this. He kind of gets to a rhythm where he will get outworked for a lot of the fight, but eventually he'll kind of find his rhythm. To me, I think, like you said, it works to a point, but I think you need to be a bit more smarter there. That's why I said, go to the body, be the boxer, be elusive. And to me, don't just stay there. Just constantly keep moving around the ring. Don't be a stationary target, because that's how Floyd was able to outwork you, and that's how Caleb Plant did it. And yeah, I think, to me, just be elusive, be on your toes. I'm not saying to bounce all over the ring, because that's not what Canelo does, but I just think, don't just sit on your punches. Don't just stay there. And it sounds very simplistic to do, but Canelo does this a lot in fights. There'll be moments where, yeah, he'll have success, but he'll also kind of just sort of be a bit stationary. And Canelo's elite, don't get twisted. I don't think he will do this, but I do think it's something that he can't do in this fight, especially against a guy like Bivol, who's bigger and who is a mover. So yeah, that is it. But that's sort of how I believe both of these guys can win the fight. And now when it comes on to my prediction, Dmtri Bivol's the bigger man. He's stronger. But with how Canelo's scorecards can be at times, and with the skill and prowess of Canelo Alvarez, it's just hard to see who beats him. So I'm going to say, I think Canelo Alvarez, I think he will do outbox him. I think he will go to the body, and I think he will overwhelm Bivol at times. And because of that, and I think just all-around better fight, I just think Canelo is elite, and I just think he gets this done via unanimous decision. I think Canelo will pick up that WBA belt and move on to, I think, talking about Gennady Golovkin next. I don't want to see it, because I think Golovkin will get beat up badly, in my opinion. But, you know, if he can get one last payday, and if Canelo can maybe make it more definitive, maybe it'd be good for both. So, who knows? But yeah, just my thoughts. A really good fight. Really, I think Canelo, like I said, he's, bar maybe the Yildirim fight, has been some really good fights recently. So yeah, I'm excited to see how this one goes. I think Canelo gets it done. Like I said, if he's elusive, if he sticks to being the boxer, I think he should get the victory. And I think for Bivol, I think if he can outwork Canelo, make the smaller man work back up, outwork him, do what, to an extent, what Floyd and Caleb Plant did, but do it in your own light heavyweight way. Be aggressive, go to the body. He never does it, Bivol. So I think if he goes to the body, he could have success. But yeah, like I said, I think Canelo gets it done though, and he further adds to his legacy, in my opinion. So just my thoughts. I'll do a review obviously after the fight, and yeah, until next time.